Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Heart Whispers with Gorge. Wherever you are today, whether you're getting ready for work, driving through traffic, taking a quiet tea break, returning home after a long day, or simply looking for a few moments of peace, I want to thank you for choosing to spend this time with me. This is more than just a podcast. It's a little corner of the world where we slow down, where we take off the masks we've been wearing all day, where we stop pretending that everything is okay, and where we simply allow ourselves to be human. So before we begin, take a slow, deep breath. Let your shoulders relax, unclench your jaw, and for the next few minutes, let the outside world wait. This time is just for you. So a few days ago, I was having a conversation with someone very close to me, and in the middle of a conversation, I asked a simple question. What do you think my next podcast episode should be all about? Without even pausing to think, they smiled and said, talk about work stress, talk about work-life balance, talk about how people are churning themselves like machines, talk about the burnout that comes from constantly chasing deadlines, meeting targets, living under expectations, and feeling like they have to keep proving themselves every single day. For a moment, I just sat there, because the more I thought about those words, the more I realized they weren't describing just one person. They were describing almost all of us, and maybe they're describing you too. We live in a world that rarely tells us to slow down. Instead, it tells us to work harder, be faster, be more productive, achieve more, keep climbing, keep pushing, keep proving. And somewhere in that endless race, many of us have forgotten what it feels like to simply breathe. And I would now like to share a little piece of my heart here, wherein there was a phase in my life where I truly believed that being busy meant being successful. Every day revolved around responsibilities. There was always another lesson to prepare, another email to answer, another task waiting to be completed, another expectation to live up to. By the time I reached home, my body would be just exhausted. But what surprised me most was that even when I finally lay down to rest, my mind refused to. It replayed conversations. It worried about tomorrow. It questioned whether I had done enough, whether I had disappointed someone, whether I could have been better. And now, looking back, I realized something. It wasn't the work alone that was exhausting me. It was the emotional weight I carried with it. The invisible pressure of wanting everything to be perfect. The constant fear of letting someone down. The feeling that no matter how much I gave, there was always more expected. And I know I'm not feeling this alone. Perhaps you have felt it too. Now my question to you is, when did we start living like this? Sometimes I wonder, when did life become so loud? When did our calendars become fuller than our hearts? When did "how are you" begin to be answered with one word, which is busy? As though being busy has become a measure of our importance. As though exhaustion has become a badge of honor. As though resting is something we need permission for. We've become so accustomed to living life at full speed that slowing down almost feels uncomfortable. If we find ourselves with an empty hour, we immediately feel the need to fill it. If we are resting, guilt quickly whispers into our minds. You should be doing something productive, is what our mind tells us. And that's truly heartbreaking. Because somewhere along the way, we've started believing that our worth depends on how much we accomplish, not on who we are, but on what we produce. One sentence from that conversation has stayed with me ever since. We are churning ourselves like machines. The more I thought about it, the more I realized how true it is. Machines are expected to keep running, to produce, to perform, to never stop. And without even noticing, we've started expecting the same from ourselves. We ignore headaches, we skip meals, we sacrifice sleep, we postpone holidays, we miss family dinners, we cancel plans with friends. We keep saying, I'll rest after this deadline, I'll slow down after this project, I'll make time for myself next month. But there's always another deadline, another meeting, another project, another target. The finish line keeps moving, and we keep running after it without ever asking ourselves, what am I running towards? Or perhaps an even more important question, what am I running away from? Here we would like to discuss about the invisible pressure. I don't think work itself is always the problem. Sometimes it's everything we attach to it. The fear of making mistakes, the fear of being judged, the fear of not meeting expectations, the fear of disappointing people, the fear of falling behind, and perhaps the greatest fear of all, the fear that if we stop, we'll no longer matter. That's a heavy burden for anyone to carry, especially when no one else can see it. Because emotional exhaustion doesn't always show on our faces. Many people smile while silently carrying more than anyone could imagine. Many people continue showing up every day while quietly fighting battles nobody knows about. And if that's you, I want you to know that I see you. And I hope today's conversation reminds you that you're not alone. I also want you to think about the cost of constantly proving ourselves. One thing I have noticed about today's world is that it constantly asks us to prove ourselves. Prove that we are talented enough, successful enough, hardworking enough, capable enough. We finish one goal only to be handed another. We celebrate an achievement only to immediately begin chasing the next one. And somewhere in that endless cycle, we forget to celebrate ourselves. Not for what we achieved, but simply for who we are. What if, just for today, you stop measuring your worth by your productivity? What if your value wasn't determined by your job title, or your salary, or your achievements? What if you were already enough, exactly as you are? Not because of what you've accomplished, but because you are a human being with a kind heart, dreams worth pursuing, and a life that matters beyond deadlines and targets. Maybe, just maybe, that's where healing begins. Not by doing more, but by believing that you don't have to keep proving your worth. You already have it. You always did. Burnout doesn't happen overnight, Burnout is a strange thing. It doesn't arrive with a loud knock on the door. It slips in quietly. One day, You realize you're no longer excited about the work you once loved. You begin waking up tired even after a full night's sleep. Your patience becomes shorter. The smallest thing begins to irritate you. Your smile becomes just another thing. You smile because you have to. You keep functioning because you have responsibilities. You keep showing up because people depend on you. But inside, you're exhausted. Not physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And perhaps the hardest part is that many people don't even realize they are burnt out until their mind or body forces them to stop. Sometimes through illness, sometimes through anxiety, sometimes through tears that seem to appear out of nowhere. Our bodies have a beautiful way of whispering before they scream. The question is, are we even listening? We really need to learn the concept of work-life balance, because work-life balance isn't about perfection. People often ask, how do I find work-life balance? And honestly, I don't think balance means giving equal time to everything. Life isn't that predictable. Some seasons will demand more from your career. Some seasons will ask you to focus on your family. Some seasons will ask you to care for your health. And sometimes life will simply ask you to pause, to breathe, to heal, to begin again. Balance isn't about splitting your day into perfect little boxes. It's about making sure that while you're building a career, you don't forget to build a life. A life where there's time to laugh, time to sit with the people you love, time to watch the rain without checking your phone, time to play with your pet, time to enjoy a hot cup of tea or coffee before it turns cold, time to do absolutely nothing without feeling guilty, because life isn't meant to be lived only on weekends. And this is a quiet realization that each one of us should have. There was a season in my life when things unexpectedly became quieter. For the first time in years, I wasn't rushing from one responsibility to another. And I thought that quieter days would automatically bring peace. But something surprising happened. Instead of feeling peaceful, I felt guilty. I kept asking myself, shouldn't I be doing something? Why am I sitting down? Am I wasting time? That's when I realized how deeply I was connecting my self-worth with being busy. Somewhere along the journey, I had started believing that if I wasn't constantly working, I wasn't doing enough. And I'm sure you have felt that too, isn't it? Maybe you've struggled to rest because resting made you feel uncomfortable. And if that's true, please know that you're not alone. And most importantly, please know that your worth has never depended on how busy you are. We were never meant to carry everything alone. And one lesson that has gently taught me in this life is strength isn't pretending that everything is okay. Strength isn't smiling when your heart is quietly breaking. Strength isn't carrying every burden by yourself. Real strength is having the courage to say, I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed, I really need help, I need to slow down. For so many years, I believed asking for help was a sign of weakness. But today, I believe the opposite. It takes incredible courage to admit that you are struggling. Because vulnerability isn't weakness, it's honesty. And honesty is where healing begins. So if you are listening to this today, maybe you're sitting in your office, maybe you're driving home after another long day, maybe you're listening while preparing dinner, or maybe you're lying in bed wondering how you're going to do it all again tomorrow. Wherever you are, I want you to pause for just a moment. Take a slow, deep breath and place your hand on your heart. Feel that heartbeat. It's been with you through every difficult day, every disappointment, every challenge, every setback, every victory, every new beginning, and it's still here, still choosing you. So perhaps today, it's your turn to choose yourself too. Before we say goodbye, here's today's Heart Whisper. You were never born simply to meet deadlines, to chase promotions, to keep proving your worth, or to spend your life ticking boxes. You were born to experience life, to love deeply, to laugh often, to learn, to grow, to fall, to rise again, to create beautiful memories, to find your purpose, and to become the truest version of yourself. Never let the noise of the world become louder than the whispers of your own heart, because your heart has a quiet wisdom. It knows when you're tired. It knows when you need to pause. It knows when you are giving too much of yourself away. Listen to it, trust it, protect it. And as we have come to the end of today's episode, I simply want to thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be a small part of your day. It truly means more than you know. If today's conversation touched your heart, brought you comfort, or simply reminded you to slow down, I hope you'll share this episode with someone who may be silently carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. Sometimes, a few kind words can become the light someone desperately needs. And because I think you really need it. Before I leave, I want you to remember this. You are stronger than your struggles, braver than your fears, wiser than your doubts, and more loved than you realize. Be gentle with yourself. Celebrate your small victories. Protect your peace, and never apologize for taking care of your mind, heart, and soul. This is Gorge, and you've been listening to Heart Whispers with Gorge. Signing off with love, light, and endless gratitude. Take care of your heart, because when you listen to its whispers, they will always guide you back to yourself. Until next time, take care and goodbye.